Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of This Week in the World of Football. This is episode number 298 for May 30th, 2023. I am your host, Randy Snow. On this week's show, Antonio Brown, surprise, surprise, did not suit up for the Albany Empire this week, and a major college football rivalry game gets moved to Black Friday at a neutral site. In this week's history lesson, we go back to the 1980s to tell the story of quarterback Steve Young and his $40 million lifetime contract in the USFL. But I'm not here by myself. Across the table from me, as always, is my son Adam.
Yeah, a little different setup today. We're just doing some stuff behind the scenes here. You guys won't notice it at home listening in your earbuds or whatever.
We're sitting at weird angles.
We are sitting at weird angles, but we're doing some video testing for some stuff down the road, and we figured we'd give it a try today. Yeah. So if it does sound different, that's why. Even though I don't think it makes it look a difference that we're kind of sitting next to each other as opposed to looking dead on.
It should be fine. I hope.
I hope so too.
We come to you each week from the fabulous World of Football Man Cave, located right here in the center of the football world, Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're here to promote the game of football in all its many forms, past, present, and future. Our goal is to educate, inform, and entertain our listeners with the glorious buffet that is the world of football. All this while keeping a close eye on the rich history of the game. Thanks for checking out our podcast. We'd love to get your feedback on one of our many platforms: Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast. You can also find our podcast in its full audio form on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, I should say. That is youtube.com/@theworldoffootball, as well as other selected videos you'll find there, like a couple of shorts we did this week. We did one for our top 5 helmets of the original USFL back in the 1980s, and the modern era helmets, which there are some differences in some of them. Some are good, some are bad, and we let you know which ones are our top 5. And then another one that we posted just the other day was a little thank you video to our now 400 subscribers that we have on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, very exciting stuff.
Yeah, I mean we've come a long way since February. We've had this YouTube page for a few years, but it's only been since we started posting videos we've been getting more followers all the time.
On a more regular basis. So that's why we're trying new things. We're trying to. Even though Randy's kicking and screaming the whole time doing half of this stuff, but I think he's enjoying some of it, but he won't ever admit it to you.
Some of it, yes.
What are you enjoying the most then? You liking the shorts, aren't you? It's short, sweet.
Yes.
I'm getting a lot of bloopers out of it. I mean, what?
Yeah.
I mean, that might not come to bite him in the butt later.
Yeah. After I'm gone. So let's begin today's show with Adam and the World of Football scoreboard.
That's right. And how many games do we have this week?
20 games this
20.
week.
How did we jump back up to 20? Well, Randy's got a lot of explaining to do later on.
Later on, I'll explain.
Yeah. For those of you who were listening last week, Randy said he wouldn't do something, and then he turned around and did it this week. All right, but we're going to start off with the USFL. It was week 7 in that spring league there. And Saturday night, there was a doubleheader, which the first game saw the Birmingham Stallions, the defending USFL champions, defeat the New Orleans Breakers 24-20. The Stallions, quarterback Alex Magoo completed 16 passes for 176 yards and a touchdown. He also ran 7 times for 22 yards and an additional touchdown on top of that. Breakers quarterback McLeod Bethel Thompson completed 24 passes for 279 yards and a touchdown during the game. Then on the second of the doubleheader on Saturday, saw the Philadelphia Stars defeat the Pittsburgh Maulers 37-31. What a game that ended up being. Stars quarterback Case Cookus completed 18 passes for 235 yards and 2 touchdowns, while Maulers quarterback Troy Williams completed 18 passes for 145 yards and a touchdown. And I believe there was a couple of big play highlights from this game. Kickoff return for a touchdown, which was really awesome to see. I think that was like an 88-yarder. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I didn't see a whole lot of highlights from this weekend.
I saw quite a few. There's some good stuff this weekend.
I watched the upcoming Michigan games you're going to talk about. For the other games, I didn't see much of any of them.
Okay, well then let's jump on over to Sunday, which had another doubleheader. Sunday first started with the Memphis Showboats defeating the Houston Gamblers 23-20. Memphis quarterback Cole Kelly completed 12 passes for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns, while Gamblers quarterback Kenji Bahar completed 18 passes for 216 yards, but no touchdowns. And how about them Showboats? After starting 0-3, they have won 4 straight games and put themselves in the playoff conversation with 3 weeks left.
Yeah, it's everybody's doing this. Everybody's either on a winning streak or a losing streak right now in the USFL.
Well, that's usually how it goes.
Teams, no, I'm talking, multiple games, winning streak or losing
Well,
streak.
quite a few teams. I was going to say there's one in particular that is definitely not on a long winning streak. They just snapped a losing streak.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of teams started out good or bad, and now all of a sudden everything's flip-flopped, so the losing teams are now winning, and winning teams are losing.
By no means will these standings probably look the way they look right now in 3 weeks. They could be all backwards by then.
Yep.
All right, and then finally Sunday, the game Randy watched, the Michigan Panthers defeated the New Jersey Generals 25-22, getting revenge from their game that kind of started their losing streak, to be honest with you.
Yeah, the game we were at.
Yeah, the game we were at. So the Panthers snapped that 4-game losing streak. Quarterback Josh Love completed 16 passes for the Panthers for 264 yards and 3 touchdowns, and also earned himself Offensive Player of the Week again. And then wide receiver for Michigan, Joe Walker, caught 5 passes for 121 yards and a touchdown. Generals quarterbacks, that's right, plural, Kyle Luletta and DeAndre Johnson combined to complete 18 passes for 201 yards and 3 touchdowns. So tell me about this game. I missed this one.
Well, yeah, Michigan was playing much better. I mean, all season long.
It's because they weren't at Ford Field. That's probably why.
Could be, yeah. This was in Canton, I believe, yeah. But no, the Panthers finally were able to put some drives together. It just seemed like every time they get any kind of momentum, they'd be getting balls knocked down at the line of scrimmage by the defense, or the wide receivers were just dropping wide open passes. They finally put some drives together where the receivers were catching some great passes. Josh Love was firing that ball in there, and they were able to hang on to him this time. Some passes still got batted down in the game, but when he needed to, he found a lane. He got the pass completed, and they got big chunks of yards and scored 3 touchdowns out of it.
I mean, last time when we saw the Panthers play the Generals could do no wrong in the running game.
Right,
like seems like they'd hit every hole and they'd get big chunks of yardage.
Yep.
So clearly, I mean, the Panthers defense stepped up a little bit here. Still a close game, but at least you come out on top. They at least didn't look as inept as they ended up looking when we were there.
Yeah, the Generals had their chance to win in the closing minutes, but they couldn't convert on a 4th down, I think, and just couldn't quite do it. So Michigan hung on for the win.
Gotcha. All right, and then we're moving on to the USFL standings. So in the North Division, as we stand after 7 weeks, the Philadelphia Stars sit at the top with a 4-3 record, followed by the Michigan Panthers in the second spot with a 3-4 record. The New Jersey Generals fall to 2-5, and the Pittsburgh Maulers sit at 2-5 in the North Division again. Right in the South Division, the Birmingham Stallions sit at the top with a 5-2 record. The Memphis Showboats, technically in the second seed right now with a 4-3 record. The New Orleans Breakers slipped to 3 with a 4-3 record, and the Houston Gamblers with a 4-3 record. So at least the teams in the South all above 500.
Yep.
The North, not so much.
Yeah. All the teams in the South are within 1 game of the leader.
Yeah. I mean, nobody's been eliminated. It's anybody's, anybody's division at this point.
Yeah. 3 weeks to go, and it's anybody's race.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things shake up down the line. All right, moving on to the Indoor Football League. It was week 11 there. There was a doubleheader on Friday, the first of which saw the Sioux Falls Storm defeat the Iowa Barnstormers in, I'd say, rousing fashion, but it was pretty much a beatdown, 77-26. Then the second of the doubleheader on Friday saw Quad City, the Steamwheelers, defeat the Green Bay Blizzard in a close game, 63-56.
That must have been a fun game to be at, man.
Should have been. I mean, those two teams seem to have a decent rivalry.
Mm-hmm. They're not too far from each other. And
former arena football 2 teams.
Yep.
So, probably some bad blood there. All right, then in a quintuple header on Saturday, the Massachusetts Pirates started things off by defeating the Tulsa Oilers in another close game, 54-48. The Frisco Fighters got the best of the San Diego Strike Force, 70-56. The Duke City Gladiators took out the defending, reigning Indoor Football League champion Northern Arizona Wranglers by a touchdown, 47-40. The Bay Area Panthers squeaked by the Tucson Sugar Skulls, 44-42. And then the Arizona Rattlers got a convincing win over the Vegas Nighthawks, 63-39.
Yeah, out of all those games, what is it? 8 games.
Yep.
8 games.
7 games?
Six of them. Well, 1, 2, 3,
7
4,
games.
7 games. 5 of them were fairly close.
Yeah.
A touchdown or less, and the other 2 were blowouts. The first and last one we talked about.
Yeah, I mean, other than Sioux Falls getting that big win and Arizona getting that big win, if you attended any of those other games, I'm sure they were at least fun to be at within a couple scores of each other. I think the only one that was everything else was like within a score except for the Frisco Fighters game in that one. That was like a 14-point difference. But I mean, shoot, still the Indoor Football League plays good, fun, competitive football. I always like to check them out on YouTube whenever I get a chance. So
That's the whole thing about arena and indoor games is that they always go down to the last possession.
it does. You never leave one of those games
No,
early.
no. So many things can happen,
Yeah.
and you don't leave at halftime because somebody's up by 20 points. That means nothing.
I mean, truthfully, in a lot of cases, you should never leave a football game early. Unless you're watching like an outdoor game and it's just very evident that you're down by 40 points.
Yeah.
That's a lot harder to come back from. But
Yeah.
2 or 3 possessions, especially in indoor football, anything can happen. But then you have like the XFL and USFL, which have the 9-point play. Even then, a couple possessions can be quickly turned around. The game could be completely different, and we've seen that happen multiple times this year alone. So never leave a football game early. Just say that. I mean, they always seem to come down to the end. At least that final quarter, get your money's worth.
Right.
All right, then we're going to throw it over to Randy, who's going to start tackling Champions Indoor Football.
Yes, the CIF. This was week 13. It was the end of their regular season already. They had 2 games on Saturday. The first game saw the Omaha Beef finish the season with a 10-0 record, undefeated, over the Sioux City Bandits by the score of 44-15. And in the second game, it was the Salina Liberty over the Gillette Mustangs, 43-41. So a very close game there. On bye in the final week were the Billings Outlaws, Rapid City Marshals, Topeka Tropics, and the Southwest Kansas Storm. So looking at the final standings for the 10-week season of the CIF, you had the Omaha Beef at 10-0, Salina Liberty at 8-2, the Gillette Mustangs at 7-3, the Billings Outlaws at 6-4, the Sioux City Bandits at 5-5, the Southwest Kansas Storm at 3-7, the Topeka Tropics at 1-9, and the Rapid City Marshals at 0-10. So those last 2 teams, Topeka and Rapid City, are the only ones that didn't make the playoffs. So 6 teams made the playoffs. The top 2 seeds have a bye this week. And so next week, you're going to have a game on Saturday, June 3rd, and it's going to be the Southwest Kansas Storm at 3-7, traveling to the Gillette Mustangs at 7-3. And then they have a Monday night game on June 5th, and it's going to be the Sioux City Bandits at 5-5, traveling to the Billings Outlaws at 6-4 for that playoff game. And as I said, Omaha and Salina have a bye, and they will play the winners of those 2 games.
Wow. Okay. So, man, one of those teams at 3-7 getting in the playoffs.
Yeah.
We complain a lot about teams under 500 getting in. Yep. Goodness gracious.
Yep. Okay, and then finally moving on to the National Arena League. This was week 8 for the NAL. On Saturday, they had 2 games. The West Texas Warbirds defeated the Orlando Predators 41-34. And the other game on Saturday saw the Fayetteville Mustangs defeat the Albany Empire 49-27. Albany lost their 5th game in a row. And surprise, surprise, Albany Empire owner Antonio Brown did not suit up and play for the team, as was talked about all last week. He was listed as inactive for the game. You sent me a video from a local Albany TV station where the local reporter talked to Antonio Brown, I think either before or after the game.
Yeah.
And Antonio said that what was it? He didn't get his
physical cleared in time.
Cleared in time with the league office. He said,
very likely story.
You can't just go out there and play. You got to be approved by the league, and they've got to have their say. And you got to pass the physical.
Then why were you touting this for a week? Yeah. I mean, the attendance apparently was up by 2,000 people from their average attendance.
He suckered 2,000 people into coming out for the game, hoping to see him play. Which I'm sure was good for their attendance numbers.
I'm sure it was, but man, to make that promise, but then if you knew, I still got to get a physical in, before I probably should get that all figured out first before I start saying I'm going to play.
He's got a lot on his mind as the sole owner of the team,
That's an understatement. He's probably got a lot in that weird skull of his, but man, I don't know. I feel bad for those fans. I feel bad. Because it's clear, like we've been to Albany before. That town embraced that team when they came.
Love that team.
They won a Arena Bowl, and then they've won a couple NAL championships. Yep. So they have rallied and loved that team. And what we have seen happen in 6 weeks, 8 weeks now with this team, like they won the opening week. But I mean, to lose your head coach at the start of the season, then lose your interim coach. Now they're on their 3rd coach. I thought it was the same head coach. Apparently, it's a different coach who had
Yeah, he came in
midweek
midweek. He came
to
in.
prepare for this game this weekend. It is a Dookie show over there in Albany right now. And could he still suit up? Maybe. I'm a little inclined to believe, yeah, maybe there's a physical involved.
Well, he's saying that he'll be suiting up at the next home game, which I think is in 2 weeks.
Okay, well, he better get his physical done by then because I mean, there was video of him practicing in a helmet and everything.
Oh, I didn't see that.
That was part of that video.
Okay, I don't remember.
Maybe you didn't watch the full thing, but yeah, there's video of him in an Albany Empire helmet practicing catching balls. So we'll see. I'm not going to sit here and say he's not going to do it. I'm still thinking he might find an excuse.
Yeah.
But it could be another one of those. He says he's going to do it. He's all set up to do it, even if he gets his physical, and then 2,000 extra fans show up, and he's just, I ain't feeling it tonight.
And then finally, on Sunday, there was one last game for the weekend. The Jacksonville Sharks defeated the San Antonio Gunslingers by the score of 70-43. The first loss of the season for San Antonio. They were 5-0, I believe. And so they suffered their first loss of the season. And on by were the Carolina Cobras in the NAL. So that's it for the indoor leagues.
And that should be it for the scoreboard, but
Yeah,
here's where
week-
you got some splaining to do.
Last week I said I wasn't going to talk about any CFL preseason scores.
Yep. We have it on record.
I got looking at the scores and I thought, what the heck? I'm going to throw these in there. So I
You
have
got greedy. You just wanted to say we had 20 games to talk
Yeah.
about.
but the week 2 of the preseason, they had 4 games over the weekend. On Friday night, it was the Montreal Alouettes over the Ottawa Redblacks, 22-21. That's a very close game. On Saturday, a triple header. It was the Hamilton Tiger Cats over the Toronto Argonauts, 27-22. Another close game. Also on Saturday, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers over the Edmonton Elks, 25-23. Another close game. And finally, the Saskatchewan Roughriders over the BC Lions on Saturday, 30-27. All 4 of those games were very, very close.
Yeah.
4-point difference in one and 3 in the others,
Yeah.
1 point in one. And the Calgary Stampeders had a bye week, but yeah, I've got something I'm going to talk about when we get into the CFL news portion. But, but yeah, I just thought, what the heck? I mean, it's CFL. We love the CFL, and so why not throw out a few scores? They've got one more week of preseason, and then like a week from Thursday, the regular season kicks off. So it's CFL time.
I don't know. I just think, you're pulling your own Antonio Brown over there saying, I'm not going to do something, and then you go and do it. You're the opposite of Antonio Brown. So a little more stable.
Yes, I am the opposite. So
Yeah, you are.
I'm glad you said that. And that's it for this week's World of Football scoreboard. All right, let's go move on to some NFL news. The U.S. Patent and Trademark Office has informed the Washington Redskins.
Nope. Wow, put a dollar in the jar.
The Washington Commanders that their application for a trademark has been denied, at least for now. They have 2 objections, or 2 things that they need to investigate more before they approve any trademark. The first objection is the fact that the annual Army Air Force game is billed as the Commanders Classic. I don't see where that's got anything to do with it. I mean,
that's the name of a game, not an organization.
Yeah.
I can't tell you at the top of my head if I've ever heard it referred to as the Commander's Classic.
No,
it's like brand new to me.
I follow the Air Force quite a bit on the football field, and I've never heard of the Commander's Classic, so I don't know where they're pulling that up from. But yeah, that makes no sense to me. But then the second objection was due to 2 trademarks filed by a Northern Virginia resident, Martin McCauley? No.
I'd say Macaulay.
Macaulay? Yeah, maybe Macaulay. It's spelled really funny. Martin Macaulay.
I think it's spelled normal and fine.
Who started trademarking potential names when the likelihood of a renaming of the team started to increase.
Yeah.
So he's one of those guys that went out there and just started grabbing trademarks.
I feel like we talked about that a while back.
Yeah,
when that was all happening.
So the fact that he's got the trademark on it is another thing that's keeping him from authorizing.
If that's the case, why was this team allowed to use the name and then sell merch and put all that stuff out there if there was no trademark to begin with?
There's all kinds of stuff here.
Hey, I'm no trade. I mean, if anybody's an expert in that, please inform me. I'm very curious.
Macaulay's representative, some guy by the name of Darren Heitner, wrote that Macaulay will step aside in exchange for a contribution to a charity that offers scholarships to Native Americans.
Oh, what a twist. That definitely was they had me in the first half. That second half, okay, you know what? What a I'm into that.
Yeah, so he's holding this name hostage now to get what
We
he
figured
wants
that
out
would
of
be
it.
the motive. I mean, obviously,
Yeah,
we all thought it'd be greedy, greedy, give me millions of dollars.
yeah,
But that's a nice spin on it, to be honest with you.
yeah. And then the final thing here on this subject, trademark attorney Josh Gerben, who first broke the story, told the Washington Post that he ultimately believes the named commanders will be approved. And I got all this information from an article out of the Richmond Times Dispatch.
Okay,
So that's where my information is coming from this week. So,
gotcha.
so this is kind of a temporary thing. Yeah, there's a few bumps in the road, but I think eventually they'll sort all this out. It may take a year, 2 years,
Yeah, who knows?
whatever. But I think the commander's name will be approved eventually. But right now, it's at a standstill.
Maybe, or does the new ownership, when they get locked in, do they start looking at changing the name again?
Oh yeah, there you go.
I mean, that's another thing that
God,
could
I hope
happen.
not. We've been through this long national nightmare once. I don't think we need to do it again.
I don't know. We'll see what the ownership does. If this becomes more of a headache than it sounds like, I'm sure it will just be yeah, sure, we'll donate a couple $1 million to this, make a charity or a
Right,
scholarship, and
right.
then then it's done, and then you get your trademark. I'm sure there's other stuff that would go into it that maybe they wouldn't have to. Like, I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see when this is finally all resolved that we can just move on.
They're going to drag this out for
Oh, probably.
years to come, but eventually it's going to happen. It's just going to take some time, I think. All right, the other NFL story that we had this week, wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins is released by the Arizona Cardinals. The 10-year veteran played his first 7 seasons with the Houston Texans and his last 3 in Arizona with the Cardinals. He has over 11,000 receiving yards and a 13.2 yard per catch average. Uh, he would have been a $30 million cap hit if he'd stayed with the team this
Yep.
year, so I'm sure that's why they got rid of him.
But
But
yeah, the
by
big but
cutting
here.
by cutting Hopkins, the Cardinals only saved about 7.39 million in cap space, and they're going to end up having to take a $22.6 million cap hit in dead money towards the upcoming season. So they
Yeah,
saved
so
some,
some
all that to
money.
save $7 million.
But man, what a loss though. Now he's a free agent, and now it's scary to to whoever he lands with. Like, clearly, there's teams that would be good fits that I don't think have the cap space for him, like the Bills, and I don't know if the Chiefs have the money to do it. Uh, then there's a team, like the Lions, who are kind of a dark horse. I mean, some people think that would be a great fit, but it's not like one of the top 5 names you hear people buzzing about.
Yeah.
One I'm scared about, and we'll see if this comes to fruition, is the Baltimore Ravens.
Hmm.
You package him up and put him across from Odell Beckham Jr. Hopefully, a healthy and still in his prime Odell Beckham. We'll see how he actually performs for the money he's getting, and then Lamar Jackson, like that could be a scary offense right there. You pair them up. I mean, anywhere DeAndre Hopkins goes, he's going to automatically boost that roster up. I don't think like the Jets could afford to pay him right now after getting
Right.
Aaron Rodgers. But I mean, there might be a few other teams out there that could surprise us, but we'll see. As long as it's not the Cowboys, as long as it's not the Bills or Chiefs, you know what? I say bring it on. I'm very curious where DeAndre Hopkins will land.
Well, whoever is going to pick him up is going to pay for him.
Oh yeah, that's
So I
what
don't think Detroit is going to put that kind of money into a wide receiver
maybe
at this time
not,
anyway.
maybe not, but it makes sense. Not Jamal Williams. Jamison Williams is out for 6 weeks.
Right.
You insert a DeAndre Hopkins and you get a lot out of him. I'm not saying like they would bench him after JMO comes back, but you get him, like, say you just sign him for a 1-year deal, pay him the maximum amount of money you can, like an 18, $19 million for one season. Come in, let's see if we can't, be one of the most explosive offenses in football and take the division and see where we go in the playoffs. Like, I think that'd be very fascinating. I mean, not just because I'm a Lions fan. I just think like that offense is potentially one of the scariest offenses behind the Chiefs and Buffalo Bills, like and the Eagles. I mean, this is the top. That would be a top 5 offense automatically with DeAndre Hopkins at wide receiver, and they already got a great wide receiving core, so it's not like everything would be on him. They'd have a lot of threats. So we'll see. I don't think it'll actually happen. I'm going to put that out there. It will not happen probably, but man, if it did, I'm going to lose my gourd.
Yeah, you don't have a lot to lose there.
Oh,
You can't afford to lose a lot. That's what I'm trying to say.
I'm Randy. I got jokes.
Yeah, and you're one of them.
Oh,
let's see. Going
wow.
to CFL news.
He thinks he's so clever.
CFL news. I watched some of the Toronto Hamilton game online.
This is news?
Yes,
I don't remember seeing this on Bleacher Report or Pro
mainly
Football Talk.
I wanted to see the
Headline:
new.
Randy Snow watches CFL game for the 10,000th time.
I mainly wanted to see the new Argos uniforms, and when
You
I
know,
realized I could watch online for a little while, I did. It took me a while to
you
log
can
in.
find the pictures of their uniforms online.
Yeah, but it's not the same as watching them live on TV. So again, I logged in through my phone and I was able to cast it to the TV, so I got to see it on my big 55-inch TV,
You're
and
big. Wow. In what
yeah,
world is 55-inch TV big?
it's big in my house.
80 inches or bust, baby.
But no, I like them. I'm not 100% behind them. I'm still getting used to it, but I did like the way they looked on the field and the team running around. The dark blue numbers and the light blue helmet now and everything. Once I get used to it, I'll be all in.
There is
But
something to be said when teams come out with new uniforms. It's like one thing to see them displayed on a
right,
stage, where it's another to see them at least on TV or in person and just actual gameplay,
right,
running around doing the normal thing. And yeah, they look fine.
yeah,
No problem with them. Like I had a little bit of worry with it being all powder blue, but it looked good.
yeah,
So
yeah.
Arizona Cardinals, on the other hand, we'll see. I'm still waiting to see you guys in the preseason.
Yeah, like I talked about last week, you log in to this CFL Plus through the CFL.ca website, and it took me 2 or 3 tries. I don't know what was going on, but I was finally able to get in after the third
Oh,
try.
the other Randy Snows out there trying to watch a CFL game, from the
Yeah,
comfort of their
a lot of
home.
guys in the U.S. trying to watch
Yeah,
a CFL game that day, a
that's probably what was happening.
preseason game, by the way.
Yeah.
That's why I felt it was important to list those CFL scores
Uh
on
huh.
our rundown today.
Just to come back to this, gotcha.
But no, I checked them out and not bad, not bad in person. Pictures are one thing, but you got to see them live on the field, and I did. So
And you
kind
finally
of
saw
cool.
the oars on the shoulders, right?
Yes, yeah, when they logged in or logged
When
in,
you logged in.
when they zoomed in on the players in the huddle, yes, you could see the oars on their
Okay, I
collars.
know it took you a while. You're like, I don't see what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
from a distance you can't even see them, but when you get
Right.
up close, yeah, then you can see that they're there. So yeah, so nice uniforms. All right, moving on to a little bit of college news. It was announced this past week that a game between Penn State and Michigan State is going to be played at Ford Field on Black Friday this year. We talked about the NFL Black Friday games,
Right.
but there's also going to be a college game that day. Now, here in the state of Michigan, that Black Friday is normally when half of the 8 high school championship games are played at Ford Field. So, in order to accommodate this Penn State Michigan game, they have moved the Michigan high school championship games to Saturday and Sunday as opposed to Friday and Saturday. So, you're going to have 4 games in 4 divisions on one day and in the other 4 the other day, which is going to make it kind of hard for the teams that have to play those last couple of games on Sunday, depending on how far they've got to go to get
Right.
home. This is Sunday night, and they're playing. They got a game starting at 8 o'clock at night, and they got to be to school the next day, plus that bus ride all night long to get home. I mean, if they're from the Detroit area, it's probably not a big deal. But if it's somebody from up north,
Right.
where it's going to be
Or the
a
west side of the
six,
state.
7 hour drive to get
Uh,
home on a school bus in the middle of the night. Um, yeah, around Thanksgiving, yeah, there could be a couple feet of snow up in the UP to get
it
home.
could be. Yeah. I mean that. I just think that's. I mean, I didn't see this coming.
No, I didn't either.
Now, I mean, now Ford Field. I mean, Lions Thanksgiving game on Thursday.
Yep,
Then this Penn State Michigan State game. One of the. I mean,
it's a big
it's a
rivalry.
big rival. I was almost gonna say one of the greatest rivals, but I mean, Penn State they'll pack that stadium out no matter
Mhm.
what. So like seeing those whiteout games is really cool. But now making it a neutral site game, and forgive me for not having in front of me the history of this game, back and forth, but the fact that they're giving up home field for one team or the other and doing a neutral site is very interesting.
Yeah, I didn't see this from what I was reading, but I'm assuming that this was going to be a Michigan State home game.
Oh, so maybe
That's
state.
just my thought. I don't know. I don't know if this was going to be a Michigan State home game or a Penn State home game. But either way, I think having it indoors where the weather isn't going to be a factor. I think Penn State fans will travel quite well
Oh, I'm sure
to
that
come here
shouldn't be
to
that
be
bad.
indoors and taking a game like this. And like I said, we talked about NFL games on Black Friday, and all of a sudden, college wants a game that day. So I don't know if this is going to become an annual thing where every year somebody's going to get a Black Friday college game, and if it's if it's at Ford Field every year, this is going to really mess up the high school championship games, which I guess they agreed to do this on a one-time basis to move the high school championship games to Saturday and Sunday. I don't know, but I just think that now that they've done it once, they're going to do it again, especially if the ratings are good, if the numbers are good, and the attendance is good. Somebody's going to be playing at Ford Field probably every year from now on, whether it's
Hmm.
Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, whoever. It'll be a Big Ten team, maybe a couple of Big Ten teams like this year,
Maybe.
or it could be, a Big Ten and a Pac-12 team. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows what they'll
But
do?
yeah, I think this may become the norm instead of the one-time thing, seeing a game at Ford Field on the day after
Yeah, I
Thanksgiving.
mean that's just in the state of Michigan alone. Then on Saturday, you're gonna have just down the road at the Big House. I believe Michigan will have a big game that weekend
Hmm.
too. I don't know if that's the Ohio State game or not, but
Yeah, I don't
I have to
know.
look at the date. I mean, usually State plays Penn State the last week of the season, so that would make me think that it's got to be Michigan, Ohio State. But that game would be down in no, they won in Columbus, so it would be up in Michigan this year. So
Right.
that could be a big week. That's a big weekend of
Yeah.
football in the state of Michigan right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. I
Your
don't.
internet crapped out, so I can't connect and
Oh,
fact
I
check
don't think
that.
they would ever move the Michigan Ohio State game to
No,
Ford
no, no,
Field
no, they wouldn't.
because they'd be losing 40,000 fans. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's definitely not what I'm saying. I'm
Right.
just saying, like, just for the state in general, that is
Right.
going to be
Yes.
incredibly like. You're a Lions fan, you get Thursday. You're a Michigan State fan, you get Friday. You're a Michigan fan, you get Saturday.
Hmm.
So like,
Yeah.
and if you're kind of riding the fence like we do, like we like all those teams. We root for all our Michigan
Yep.
football teams in the state. It's a big weekend.
Yeah.
I saw that lineup and I was like, what? We are going to be drowning in football glory that weekend.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that at all. I love it.
Okay. Let's see. We're going to move on to today's birthdays. I'm sorry, this is May. May 30th. Running back Gale Sayers, also known as the Kansas Comet, was born on this date in 1943. He died in 2020 at the age of 77. He played his college football at Kansas, of course. Selected with the fourth overall pick in the 1965 NFL draft by the Chicago Bears. But you may not know this, he was also selected with the fifth overall pick in the 1965 American Football League draft by the Kansas City Chiefs. Can you imagine Gale Sayers going to the Kansas City
No, I
Chiefs
can't.
after he played in Kansas? I mean, that makes sense. He was a big star in Kansas. So yeah, but just seeing him in a Kansas City Chiefs uniform was just I don't
It
know.
just
I
doesn't
I
sound
can't
right.
imagine that. No, but he played 7 seasons, all with the Bears from 1965 to 1971. Injuries ended his playing career, which was off to just a heck of a start. What's that one game when he had oh gosh, 5 touchdowns in
Was it
one
six
year? I
touchdowns?
think it was 6 touchdowns. Yes, he
Because
returned returned a punt, and just had some incredible runs, and I think he even caught one for a touchdown. Just an incredible game. But yeah, he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1977. Uh, After only 7 seasons,
yeah,
normally you don't see guys with 7 years in the NFL getting into the Hall of Fame,
that
but
just goes to
Gale
show you
Sayers
how.
was the exception, and he
Yeah,
deserved it.
yeah.
Yes, go check out some Gale Sayers highlights if you are not familiar with his career. All right, we do have one obituary to talk about this week. This is where we take a moment to honor those who've made the world of football a better place. Our lone obituary this week is that of Jim Copeland, a defensive back and kick returner in the Canadian Football League for 9 seasons, has passed away at the age of 84. Copeland played college football at the University of Utah. He played for the Montreal Alouettes in 1960 and was then traded to the Saskatchewan Roughriders, where he played from 1961 to 1964. He finished his playing career with the Toronto Argonauts from 1965 to 1968. Copeland was inducted into the Windsor/Essex County Sports Hall of Fame in 1998. All right, anything else that we want to talk about that you've seen pop up on your phone before we
Nope,
go on to?
nothing big. We're kind of in that weird lull when it comes to NFL news. I think right now we'll watch
Okay.
something break after we
Yeah.
turn off the microphones.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it has been kind of slow today. Normally,
uh,
because Monday was a holiday, Labor
yeah,
or not
Memorial Day
Memorial
weekend.
Day.
Yeah,
not a whole lot came out yesterday,
I
but
think with the NFL, teams probably they finished their OTAs
yeah,
in the last week, so they probably got a little time off. I don't know if they went right back to OTAs this week,
right.
but uh, yeah, we're just in that little dead period for right now. But I mean, the CFL season starts up
Yep.
soon, regular season, and USFL's winding down, so
Yep.
and we're kind of in that weird period right now where we're waiting for things to start back up.
Yep. All right, well, let's get into this week's history lesson then. And this week we're going to talk about Steve Young's $40 million lifetime contract that he signed with the USFL. The USFL of the 1980s paid top dollar for the best players coming out of college. They even signed 3 straight Heisman Trophy winners before they could sign with the NFL: running back Herschel Walker, running back Mike Rozier, and quarterback Doug Flutie. Quarterback Steve Young from BYU was another player coming out of college with great potential to be an NFL star. He was the runner-up to Mike Rozier in the 1983 Heisman Trophy voting and projected to be the first overall pick in the 1984 NFL Draft by the Cincinnati Bengals. But on January 4, 1984, Young was selected with the 11th overall pick in the 1984 USFL Draft by the Los Angeles Express. Team owner J. William Oldenburg offered Young the biggest contract ever at the time to a pro football player, a $40 million lifetime contract that would be payable over 43 years. Young was selected later that year by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, not in the regular NFL draft, but with the first overall pick in the 1984 supplemental draft. Young played 2 seasons in the USFL in 1984 and 1985. In 1984, he led the team to a 10-8 record and won the Pacific Division. He passed for 2,361 yards and 10 touchdowns. He also ran for 515 yards and 7 more touchdowns. In the first round of the playoffs, LA hosted the defending USFL champion Michigan Panthers at the LA Coliseum. LA won the game 27-21 in triple overtime. To this day, it is still the longest pro football game ever played. After neither team scored in the first 2 15-minute overtime periods, tailback Mel Gray scored the game-winning touchdown on a 24-yard run at 3 minutes and 33 seconds into the third overtime. The game lasted over 4 hours. The following week, in the semifinal round, LA lost to the Arizona Wranglers 35-23. In 1985, Young and the LA Express posted a disappointing 3-15 record and did not make the playoffs. When the USFL shut down following the 1985 season, Young signed with the Buccaneers and played for the team in 1985 and 1986. He was then traded to the San Francisco 49ers in 1987 and spent several seasons as the backup to future Hall of Fame quarterback Joe Montana. Young won 2 Super Bowls with the 49ers as a backup to Montana, and he finally took over the 49ers in 1993 after Montana signed with the Kansas City Chiefs. Young led the team to a victory in Super Bowl 29 just 2 years later. He retired as a player following the 1999 season and was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2005. Steve Young only collected about $4.8 million of his original $40 million contract with the LA Express. If the league had continued to play, he would still be receiving checks of over $1 million annually from an annuity through the year 2027, when he would be 65 years old. All in all, I think things worked out okay for Steve Young. 3 Super Bowl titles, 1 Super Bowl MVP, 7 Pro Bowls, and induction into the Hall of Fame. Not bad for a player who was once known as the $40 million man.
Yeah, this was one that I tried getting you to do for a while now. I'm glad you finally got around to it.
Well, we've been talking a lot about the USFL lately, and did our YouTube shorts on some USFL helmets, past and
Right.
present. So we've just been in a USFL mode here.
But ironically, the LA Express didn't make either of your lists. Spoiler alert.
No, it was probably number 6 on my list.
Oh, probably.
I do like their helmet, but there were just some that were better.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But yeah, very interesting story. You say now, $40 million. I mean, that's not even a signing bonus for some of these guys anymore. But back in 1984, when this happened, that was phenomenal.
And who knows, like with inflation the way it is now, like I'm sure somebody did the math, it'd probably be astronomical what it would be today. Like the equivalent of 40 million back then has probably got to be at least double that now, you think, or maybe at least 60 million, 80, 60, 70 million, maybe. That's still a lot.
All right. Finally today, our upcoming events calendar. Thursday, June 8th, the CFL regular season begins with a game between the Calgary Stampeders and the British Columbia Lions. That's only 16 days away from today.
That's one
folks.
more show, and then
Yeah.
in 2 shows, it'll be talking about that game.
Actual games that count
Yep.
in the CFL. Thursday, August 3rd, the Pro Football Hall of Fame game in Canton, the Cleveland Browns versus the New York Jets. And finally, on our upcoming events calendar, Thursday, September 7th, the NFL regular season begins with our Detroit Lions at those Kansas City Chiefs.
It's coming.
Yep.
Slowly but surely.
Yep. All right. Anything else?
No, I mean, shoot. Still nothing. It's one of those slow Tuesdays. It sounds like we're gonna have a very short show.
Well,
for a change.
Enjoy the short Tuesday today because they're going to be picking up as the months go and we'll get closer to NFL season kicking off.
Oh yeah. I mean, with training camp right around the corner too, that'll things will be picking up. We still see. I'm waiting for the news to drop, and I bet you as soon as I say it, then that news is going to drop as soon as we're done. We're still waiting on the Hard Knocks team. They have not unveiled what team is going to be doing Hard Knocks yet. I'm a little surprised because that'll start of August too. So,
well, we got 2 months.
2 months, but still, you think they'd be needing some prep time, unless they already know. But man, I'm very curious who it's going to be. They had 4. What did we say? There was like 4 teams.
I think so.
The Jets, Bears, Saints, and I can't remember the 4th team.
Yeah, you read them off one day.
Yeah, I don't have it at the top of my head, but I remember 3 of the 4. Because I remember saying, let's just do the Jets. They got Aaron Rodgers, just pick them.
I'm sure that's who they'll wind up picking.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's all the time we've got for this week. If you learned something during this podcast about the incredible amount of diversity that exists in the world of football, then we've done our job. Visit our website at theworldoffootball.com for news, links, upcoming events, original articles, videos, and more. Our email address is info@theworldoffootball.com.
You can also like The World of Football on Facebook at TWOF Kalamazoo, or that's facebook.com/TWF Kalamazoo for those. You can also follow our Twitter, which is the @TWOF Kalamazoo. New episodes of this podcast are posted on Tuesdays and are available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Amazon Music. So simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast, and you'll hear us in your ear holes. You can also find the full audio version of this show on our YouTube channel. You just simply search for the World of Football Kalamazoo in your YouTube search bar, or use the handle youtube.com/@theworldoffootball. So please spread the word and subscribe, rate, review, give us a like, leave us a comment, let us know what you think, and please come be a part of the football conversation.
On Facebook and Twitter, I reposted an article that I did last fall on Sam Dunlap, the first black player at Western Michigan University, and it was mainly because he was a World War I veteran, and he's buried with a bunch of other veterans in the cemetery here in Kalamazoo, and so I just thought that was appropriate for Veterans Day. And I don't know who was the first person to retweet that post.
Yeah.
But I have been getting so many people liking it that I've never heard from. The people that I'm not familiar with. Yeah. So I think I don't know where the first person found it, but wow, that's
Twitter
getting a lot of attention from people I've never heard of before.
Yeah.
But I really like that.
Welcome to the internet, Randy. That's how that works.
Is that how that works?
Sometimes, you just throw something out into the wind and it gets picked up by...
Well, I haven't had that happen before. Normally the stuff I put out
there...
it was
blowing your phone up.
Yeah, I'll get, the normal group of people that will respond. They'll like it, or maybe some will retweet some of the stuff I put out there. But I'm seeing names and faces I've never seen before on
Twitter for you.
But it's kind of cool. All right. And remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than we do. Until next time, when we'll try and do a better job, I'm Randy Snow.
And funny enough, for those of you out there, all that was part of the script that Randy just read off. This is the normal part.
I lost my place. I looked away and I looked back and I lost my place.
I just read that whole spiel before that, because there's only this paragraph and then the paragraph I read, and then you added this big paragraph about your article in Twitter. I was just like, dang.
Something I just thought about.
When did you insert that into the script? Yeah. But I'm Adam Snow.
We'll see you all next week.